So today we are going to make our cover for our Kiss the Cook, our Bo Bunny Kiss the Cook album. Okay, so I'm just going to give you the measurements real quick. So you're going to need 2 pieces of chipboard at 7.5 by 9. Again, that's 7.5 by 9. You need 2 of those. And then you're going to need one that's 3.5 by 9. Okay. And then so you'll have it like this. Okay. So I'm going to put that to the side real quick. And then we're going to talk about our hinge. So what I did, you don't have to do this. Everybody's tutorials are different for when they're making albums. This is a very thin piece of chipboard. This was actually 2 thin pieces of chipboard glued together. This one is 8 3/8 by 3 1/4. Okay. And then we'll start talking about the measurements for the hinge. You're going to need a 12 by 12 piece of paper, and I'm using Kraft. So your first score line is going to be at your 8 3/8, okay? And then we're going to go ahead and cut that off. And just keep that to the side for something else. Might use it for a belly band. And then we're going to start our measurements for our score lines. Our first one is going to be at 1 inch, 1 1/2, 2 1/8, oops, 2 3/4, 3 1/4, 3 7/8, 4 1/2, and I'm sorry, I always run down mine twice just to make sure. So if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm not making an extra score mark. I'm just running over mine twice. 5 5 5/8, 6 1/4, 6 3/4, 7 3/8, 8 8 1/2, 9 1/8, 9 3/4, and then 10 1/4. Okay, and I just leave this extra to fold over. So then I have, these are my actual pages. So you're going to have a 1/2 inch line, and then this one, okay, is, I believe it's, it should be 3/8, but I'm just going to double check here to make sure I'm not crazy. Give me 1 second. No, I'm sorry, it's 5/8. Okay, so this is a pretty big hinge for this, but that's the way I like it. So you're going to have 5/8 for this particular album, and then a 1/2 inch in between each page. Okay, so this is actually going to be page 1. Then you skip to the you skip the 1/2 inch. 2, skip the 1/2 inch. 3, skip the 1/2 inch. 4, skip the 1/2 inch, and 5. Okay. And then what I do is I go ahead and I start folding my little accordion here, okay? And then, of course, you're just going to run your tape like you normally would do. I've already made mine, so I'm just going to keep this for my examples here so that I remember what I did. Because I don't ever really write my directions down. So this is really one of my first times doing this in a while. So then you can start putting your pages together. Oops. And again, everybody does that differently. I'm going to get 12 by 12 pieces of paper. And hopefully this is all I will need, okay? So let me just guesstimate here if this is enough. Let me move this out of the way real quick. I always do a little flap over. This is going to be my center. Yes, definitely 2 12 by 12s is perfect. In fact, it's a little extra, but that's okay. And I'm trying to think. I like to leave about 1.5 inches at the top and 1.5 inches at the bottom, and then cut off the excess. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and make a approximate. I'm going to do a little dot. Oops. 1.5 inches. And then 1.5 inches. And since I'm folding this over, they're not going to see this anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Make sure it's lined up straight. And I'm just going to do a little light line. Okay. Let me see how much I have. I could be wrong about this. Oh, wow. I'm good. Okay. It's a rarity that I do that, so this is perfect. Okay. And then you can do the same thing here on this page, because you're going to want to line it up. Well, you don't really have to line it up exactly, but close enough anyway. I'm going to do my 1.5 inches. And then my 1.5 inches. And this just helps me so that when I'm, gluing this down or taping it down, that it's straight. Okay. Now I can get my score tape. And I'm going to put my seams together. And try to get as close to the edge as possible so you have no lifting. And since I don't have a thick one right now, I'm just going to use this. Okay, I'm going to burnish this in really good. And then I'm going to peel it back. And you know me, I like to use my art glitter glue so that, one, if I've missed any tape, I can fix that, like there. And then this also gives me a little bit of wiggle room, but still allows me to have it together. Sorry, I'm not going to reapply that just yet. Okay. And I'm going to line them up. And then burnish it in. And hopefully I did it right. So they should be pretty darn close. Like I said, it's just, ooh, it looks good. Looks pretty darn good. That's all I gotta say. Okay, and I know this sounds crazy, but I'm gonna go ahead and run a strip of glue right along my seam. Just to make sure there's no lifting. And I'm going to rub that in with my finger to get it in there. Okay. Now, I'm going to start off by taping my base piece, and then I'm going to attach it. And I kind of want to center it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, you want to get as close as you can. So let me go ahead and I'm going to line up all the tape on the back of this, and then I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I have all my score tape on, and now I'm going to just, because you know I like to have the wiggle room, I'm just going to add my art glitter glue on here so that I can move it around, and I'm going to center it right down that center seam line. Okay. And then I'm going to flip it over. Well, first I'm going to burnish it on this side. Oops. And then I'm going to flip it over and really burnish it in there good. And remember the seam line that I did a minute ago with glue? I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, and this dries very fast. So once you run your finger through there, it'll dry within seconds. Okay. Okay. Let that dry for a half a second there. And then I'm going to repeat. But when I do this, I'll be back to show you one end. And then I'll be back once I finish the other end. So what I'm going to do is, I have my little thing here. This is about 1/8 inch. I will leave a 1/8 inch gap. And you need that gap so that when you're folding the book closed, it needs that gap so it doesn't like click or stick or whatever. So you just got to have that little space there. No big deal. So, and I also like to run a piece of score tape there, which I will show you that in just a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and tape these up and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got my pieces prepared, so I'm going to go ahead and use my 1/8 inch score tape and put it right there. Okay, just line it right up. And then, okay, I've already got my score tape on my paper here. And I'm going to go ahead and use my art glitter glue. Again, like I say, you don't have to do this, but I like to do this in case I need to move it. I can, if I do this fast enough, okay? Before my glue dries. Okay. So, I'm going to take this, line it up, and then I have my guidelines. And then I'm just going to lay it down. Bada bing, bada boom. And then I can pull this one. Hold on, I need to burnish that in a little bit more. And then I can pull this out. Okay? And then I can burnish it in. And this one I'm going to spend some time. We're really doing that good. If you use a heavier glue, you will see the lines on here. This is what I like about art glitter glue. It's a very thin glue, and if you work fast enough, you will not see all those ridges like you would with regular glue. And not only that, sometimes regular glue is very wet. So again, I'm going to do the same thing on this side. In fact, I'm going to turn it around because it's just easier for me to work that way. I'm going to go a little bit above so that way I can pull it down. Sorry, carpal tunnel. My hand started cramping. Ugh. Okay, I'm going to burnish that in. Okay. And then I'm going to pull these off. I'm going to glue it and do the same exact thing, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I went ahead and I cut off about an inch on one of the edges because it seemed like there was a little bit too much on there. So I really like my books to be like not have a whole lot of thickness going on. Okay, so at this point, if you have a perfect ruler trimmer, you would go ahead and make your little pencil marks where you need to cut it off, okay? And I'm just going to do the same thing on each of the corners. So this lets me know that I already have too much hanging over. So let me just grab my little itty bitty trimmer real quick, and I will still trim some of this excess off because I really don't need that on there. Okay. And then with your scissors, you can go ahead and, sorry, I got some tape stuck to mine and apparently some glue too. Always fun. Just trim off those edges right there. Okay. Somehow my Tim Holtz scissors I had out are around here somewhere, but I moved them and now I don't remember where I moved them to. So, and I prefer those because tape doesn't really stick to those. So, okay. Now that I've got all that cleaned up, now I can go ahead and start making sure my edges of my book bend, okay? And they should be perfect, okay? And I can start kind of getting my edges ready, okay? And, sorry, let me plug that up real quick before I mess it up. Okay, then I'm gonna get out my score tape again, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and run it all along and tape up all these four corners, and then I'll be right back. Yes. Hi, yes, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bone folder. I've got all my tape on these corners, and I even put one strip of tape along here. I'm going to take my bone folder, and I'm going to push in my little edge here. Let's see if I can do this side first. I'm just going to kind of like crook it in there a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing on that edge. Okay. And then I'm going to, again, get my little glue out here and just do a real quick strip. And since I've already rocked my edges, it's ready to go. And I'm just going to push and rock it again And then I'm like pulling basically up with my thumb, pulling that paper up to make it as taut as possible. Okay. And then I'm going to burnish it in really well. And I'm doing this lightly because you don't want to crack your paper. Just taking my bone folder right there. And then pushing that corner in again. Just to make sure it's folding over nicely. That covers over the little edges on your book. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this end. Whoops. Hold on, I gotta burnish that edge in real good because I apparently layered over it on accident. Okay. And then again, same thing. Really quickly with the glue, not a big deal. Rock it and then pull it taut up there, make it tight. Okay. And then burnish all that in and flatten out any wrinkles. And if you have everything taped up properly, you should be able to do that really well. Again, same thing, lightly doing this to make sure that it's, now look at how nicely that folds over, okay? Again, we're going to push those edges in. I'm pushing it in. I've already done the other side, so I'm ready to go on that one. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. If I have any tape hanging over, I'm going to go ahead and push that in if there's any tape hanging over the edge. And then again, same thing, taut with my thumbs and push down. So now the edges of my book are definitely covered. Again, I can do the same thing here. I want to make sure that I have all that burnished in. And if it looks like there's anything lifting, get that glue in there and seal it up now before it's too late. Okay. Again, same thing. And that is it for this part. Well, now what we're going to do is we're going to get a 12 by 12 piece of paper and we're going to cover this up. I'll probably actually need two. So I'll be right back. So I know that my book is 9 inches long. So I'm going to do it at 8 7/8. Okay, and I'm going to do that on 2 pieces because obviously that's not going to cover the whole inside the book. And I'm going to do that and cut it. Sorry, I'm just grabbing another one. Whoops. Again, 8 7/8. Okay. Move that out of the way. Get out my cutter. And I'm actually, I didn't even need to do that. I'm going to cut these both at the same time. Because I want to make sure that they are 100% even and it just works better. So I'm going to make sure that it's on here right. And cut. Now these are perfectly even. I can get out my score tape But before I do that, I'm going to see how much I need. So I'm going to need about, let's just say, 7 inches. Let me get out this one real quick because I'm doing a quick trim here. What did I say again? I think I said 7. We'll just go with 7.5 just in case I messed up. So, there we go. Yeah, it only need to be about 7. My bad. Let me cut off that 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to get out my score tape. And again, that same exact thing that I did with the seam. I always decorate over these, so I'm not even worried if it, oh, hold on. Before I do this, I apologize. I'm going to make sure I have a straight line. Cut off anything hanging over the edge. Burnish it in really well. And so I'm going to use this as my guideline to know exactly where I want it to lay. And I'm going to go ahead and pull off my tape covers, whatever you want to call it. Oops, whoa, that was a chunk there. You don't want that. Okay. Okay. Again, I'm using this as a guideline of where I want it to lay. Oh no. Shoot, dagnabbit. I was wrong. It was the whatever, but y'all know what I mean. It was 7.5. What was I thinking? That's why I like using the glue so that I can lift it up quickly. Okay? I'm not worried about this. This is going to be covered with tape anyway. Again, I'm going to make sure that my seal is done really well. Okay? So let me wipe off that excess glue so I don't have any bulk. And then I'm going to tape this entire page. It's extremely important using tape. Glue causes bubbles, lifting, and also makes the paper weak. If you use a heavy, like a fabric glue per se, or any other kind of glue, it's going to make the paper wet and weak. So I will be right back because this will take me a couple minutes to line all of this. And then I'm going to flip this piece over onto here so it'll be just right. Somehow, how did that end up longer? I think I know what I did. I said it the wrong way. Oh my gosh. Okay, anyway, I will get that situated and then I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So I have everything taped up, and any spots that I missed over, I'm going to make sure that I apply some glue there because I see a few spots on here that I missed. And then I'm just going to get my edges in here. Okay. Again, this is going to allow me to just move it quickly if I have to, okay? Then I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to line it up. And place it down. And very quickly, with my bone folder, get those seams folded down. Don't worry about the glue. This glue dries clear, so you're okay. Not only that, most likely you'll be covering over this anyway. You're going to burnish it in really good. Actually, let me take the rounded end. Okay. And then that one seam, I'm going to do that same thing that I did earlier. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead where I have my space that needs to be folded on my book. I'm going to start doing that right now with my bone folder very lightly. Don't get crazy now. Don't get crazy. Just rock it in there. Rock it in there and keep moving. And ta-da! Same thing on this side. Let me find where my bend is, okay? And again, I'm going to start rocking it in there, rocking it in there, rocking it in there. And now, I will tell you that if you used glue, okay, like a fabric glue or whatever, you will see that it'll start bubbling up. And the reason that is the tape is actually a better binder than the glue when it comes to doing binding, okay? That's just my personal opinion. I know there are a lot of people that do use glue, and they probably run into a lot of problems because I've tried using glue. I've used them all, okay? Now, I have my cover. So now at this point, I can go ahead and I know that I need to go in, I believe it was 3/8 inch in. So I'm going to get out my ruler. I should have written it down. I hope it is 3/8 from the top. Okay. And that is right underneath the 1/2 inch line. Okay. I'm going to make a little mark with my pencil. Okay. And this is where I should have, maybe it isn't 3/8 inch. Shoot. Okay, let me try a little less. That might be, I'll be right back. I gotta find an eraser. Okay guys, I'm back. I decided not to add on any more to the album binding tutorial because with your covers, everybody does them differently. I do a lot of layering and some people don't like to do that, so it would be fair of me to give you measurements that may not be what you like. But I always use 1/8 around 1/8 inch around the border. And that's pretty much how I set it up. So it's pretty easy to do the math on that. I also do the same for the inside. Okay. But let me give you the measurements for the mats that go inside the pages, inside the sleeves. It's 6.5 by 8 1/4. And then for your decorative sheet, it is going to be 6 1/4 by 8. Okay, so the decorative sheet, 6 1/4 by 8. And I will be back with the measurements for the waterfall.